Hello and welcome to my review in 4K of Horus Ascended for Warhammer The Horus Heresy from Forge World. Now this highly detailed resin miniature will cost £92.50 and consists of 41 resin components. Comes on a 50mm base and an 80mm base. Horus Ascended is not quite the most expensive Primarch at the moment. That title befalls on Lion L. Johnson, which is now £98, and the same can be said for Sanguinius and Magnus. And Sanguinius doesn't even have a big scenic base like Magnus and Horus have. Now, Horus Ascended is a completely different new miniature compared to the previous Horus the War Master Primarch of the Sons of Horus model, which came out probably a decade ago or so. When that initial miniature was released, I think it was about 60 or maybe even £65. It's now £79, so it has gone up in price, and because it was one of the earlier Primarchs, didn't have as much detail or a decent instruction guide compared to nowadays. And he's also quite small. There are a few Primarchs out there which are small, especially when you compare them to the Lion and Sanguinius and Magnus. I don't own Horus the War Master, so I won't be able to give you a size comparison with him in this review, but I do own a number of other Primarchs of which I can compare his size to. Before we look at the detail of the miniature, I'll just take a little bit of time now to show you the instructions. So we've gone from this instruction guide for Lorgar. I kid you not, that's the instruction guide. Then we moved on a couple of years ago to a foldable CAD Lion L. Johnson guide with all of the parts and how to put them together. Not too bad. We're now in this stage where I feel what we've regressed a little bit because it's a much smaller guide for a £92 miniature, and I like the art, it's a bit too small. I would have liked this, but in this size of instruction guide. And there you go. So I like the layout, but I just wish it was double the size. Still tricky to put together. The Primarchs are, they're tricky models. Each Primarch has its own kind of like little specific build process that is unique to it and may cause some issues. For Horus, it's all the little trinkets and the claws and in some way the cape. For Magnus, it's the swirling energies and all the extras on his armour. And if you pick up any of the other Primarchs, you'll discover the rest. Was a bit tricky to put together. If you really like the miniature and you want to add it to your collection and it's going to be your first resin miniature, it's going to be a completely different world if you're coming from all plastic. I'd strongly recommend you watch my live stream video, which is in the playlists under Warhammer live streams. That's where I go through building this miniature sort of step by step, and of course discover some difficult build steps as well, because it was a brand new miniature for me, even with my experience working with resin. So with that all being said, let's have a look at the detail on the miniature. First of all, I will say he doesn't sit fully in centre on his base, which is a little bit off-putting. He's quite far back on his base, like he's striding forward. I mean, I guess you could move the skulls and the skeletons and things a bit further, but then they're going to overlap the base and that just looks terrible. Also, you've probably just noticed that the cloak I've left loose because I haven't yet committed to gluing it on the top of his armour for a number of reasons, and I'll go through them in a moment. But if you're new to Primarchs, normally they come on their own base with a larger scenic base, and Horus is no different. So if we gently remove that and that, and there you go. So what I've done is I've glued this back area to his base, which you don't have to do, but it didn't add that much bulk to it. It's literally just this bit here. So there was already going to be an overlap here, but I've just glued this section as well. So that's why it's looking like that, I guess. The detail is absolutely incredible. This is why I'm shooting this in 4K. So hopefully you can pick some of this detail up. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely fantastic there. And you just would not get this on plastic. There's so much 3D detailing, which when you paint and you shade this miniature, it's really going to pop, especially with the highlights as well. You know, you've got all this 3D detailing in here. Abaddon is a good model. I'll do not a size comparison, but a detail comparison straight away. Abaddon is nice, but that's as far as they can get at the moment with plastic. But you can tell with the 3D detailing, especially with the wires, some of the wires and cables just merge in, some of the lips are smoothed off, some of the icons on the armour are quite flat looking, even the base with the holes for the skulls and the material just isn't as detailed. But yeah, I just wanted to make that comparison there. And look at the claw as well. Just wanted to give you a little comparison there. Loads of detail everywhere. You've got these little trinket pieces, you've got his blade, you've got the wolf pelt itself, the claw. Each one of those claws is individual and posable. You've got the ammunition feeds. I mean, he's got so much presence. That cloak is huge as well. Unmistakably Horus. Now, apart from that, the base itself, I don't know. I mean, I think there's too many skulls and skeletons and things like that on there. I think we probably could have had a little bit less. I'm not sure whether there would be, but you know, if there's billions on this certain planet that he's on, then yeah, I kind of understand that. I don't think he's on Terra because what they've painted is they've painted a lot of green armour for salamanders, and there's some iron armour as well. But there certainly is a lot going on this base. Loads of skeletons and power armour, and there's even this kind of vexilla or whatever you want to call it, and you've even got one of these solar auxilia, I think, with the helmet like raised up, but then there's just a skeleton inside. So the armour has survived, but yeah, the flesh has been all but burnt off. And then this is the other side. I'm yet to magnetize this. This is what I normally do with all my other Primarch bases. I'll magnetize that so that I can just pop him in there quite snugly, and then that will just magnetize and lock him in place. So there you go. I could spend way more looking at this miniature and show you all the detail and things, but I think now is the time to give you some size comparisons before I go through the rules, because yes, he does in fact have his own special rule in the Liber Hereticus book. So size comparisons then. I thought, because I've been reviewing Angra recently, I'll give you a size comparison with Angra. Now this particular Angra model has just been made in plastic for Warhammer 40,000, so I'm not quite sure whether he would have been a little bit bigger in Horus Heresy, but you know, there is a potential, because this is Horus Ascended, to have these two, you know, in a like narrative game on the same world, perhaps. I don't know, but that's Angra, Demon Primarch. Horus differs somewhat, like with Perturabo, in that he doesn't really, I say, get any gift other than he's beefed up. He doesn't have the wings, he doesn't have any mutations that we can see. You know, he's certainly a different kind of Ascended than his brother Primarchs. Then if I just show you Mortarion, the lack of mutations and gifts are even more apparent. Now I don't have Magnus, but that would have been great to have Magnus in this video too, to show you his kind of, say, final form. But yeah, I thought this would be quite beneficial to show you, you know, 3 Ascended Primarchs. And as you can see, Horus isn't really that small compared to them. I mean, yes, you could definitely add, you know, add that to the base there. And there he is. And that still isn't too bad, I don't think, all things considered. If we compare him to, I say, unascended Primarchs, I'm wondering if they will update, I guess, or make Loyalist Primarchs Ascended. I think they almost admitted that they will be doing something similar to that. We've got Magnus here that's unascended. Magnus is still the tallest. He always has been. I think he's still taller than Horus Ascended when they're both kind of level, I think. Now, the last time I did a size comparison, I almost destroyed Magnus out of existence, but I think they're both beautiful miniatures, lots of detail on both of them, and yeah, fantastic. I can't wait to see what we're going to have for Fulgrim, and maybe even an Ascended Perturabo. But yeah, please put it in the chat below what other Ascended Primarchs and things you would like to see. But we also have another Traitor Primarch, probably the key to most things. Gives you an idea of how small Lorgar really is. Maybe they'll ascend him, I don't know. But yeah, that is Lorgar. I do have Mortarion, but I haven't built him yet, unfortunately. But rest assured, I'll give you size comparisons with these in his own review once I've built him. And then compared to Sanguinius, just because I have Sanguinius nearby, if you wanted to see Sanguinius compared to these. And then we've got Lionel Johnson as well. Definitely chunkier than the Lion. So I hope all those size comparisons have helped. The final few comparisons I'd like to make is just with some Horus Heresy miniatures, really. So I have a Space Marine Centurion right here. I have a Mark 6 Powered Armor Space Marine, a Mark 3, which is the same size as Mark 6, and then a smaller Mark 4. So just gives you an idea. You know, if you wanted to run him with a load of Mark 6s, for instance, it works well with any of the armor sets. Anything with Cataphracti nearby with those layered plates. Final few size comparisons I like to make just with the 3 miniatures I always like to compare them to. So there's a normal Space Marine, barely up to the torso, and then a Primaris, again, barely up to the chest. If I just show you him next to a Primaris. Yeah, Primaris is just a bit higher than the torso. But now that we've got Horus Ascended, we're probably going to get a few more Ascended Primarchs, or I guess updates. Really like to see an Emperor miniature at some point though. That would be fantastic. Okay, so the final part of my review of the Sons of Horus Ascended miniature is to go through all of his rules. You'll find them in the Liber Hereticus army book for Warhammer The Horus Heresy. Horus Lupercal himself would normally cost you 600 points. If you were playing against me and you only had this model and not the original Horus model, no questions asked, I would easily allow you to use this miniature in place of the original model. He will cost you 600 points. To have him ascended, it will cost you an extra 400 points. There are a lot of rules and things for me to go over with this, so strap yourselves in. Firstly, we'll go through his stat line, which is a movement of 8 inches, weapon skill 8, ballistic skill 6, strength 8, toughness 8, 8 wounds, initiative 6, 6 attacks, leadership 10, and a save of 2+. So the 3 differences there compared to normal Horus is Normal Horus had a strength of 7, toughness 7 and 7 wounds. So the Ascended version has, 1 extra on all of those. War gear, the Serpent Scales, the War Master's Talon, World Breaker, Cognis Signum and frag grenades. Unit type, Horus Ascended, Primarch, Unique, Corrupted. Special rules, Legiones Astartes for Sons of Horus, Master of the Legion, Master of War, Master of Weapons, Deep Strike, Traitor, Warlord, Sire of the Sons of Horus. So, Warlord, Sire of the Sons of Horus. If chosen as the army's Warlord, Horus automatically has the Sire of the Sons of Horus Warlord trait and may not select any other Warlord trait. Sire of the Sons of Horus. All models of the infantry unit type in the same army as Horus Lupercal, regardless of faction, gain +1 leadership and the Stubborn special rule. So, Master of War. Once per battle, at the start of any turn where Horus Lupercal's controlling player is the reactive player, this special rule may be activated. For the duration of the turn on which this special rule is activated, the reaction allotment of the army that includes Horus is increased by +1 in every phase. Master of Weapons. During the assault phase, Horus Lupercal can never be hit by a melee attack on a score of better than 4+, regardless of the weapon skill of his opponent. In addition, during the assault phase, Horus Lupercal may choose to split his attacks between any of the weapons he is equipped with, declaring which attacks will be used with which weapon profiles before any of his attacks are rolled. It's quite nice. The Serpent Scales, so this is his armour. They provide a 2+ armour save and a 3+ invulnerable save. It's very nice. World Breaker. So this is his Power Maul. It's a melee weapon. It's a strength of 10 and its AP is 2. It's mastercrafted, brutal 2, sunder and unwieldy. The War Master's Talon. It has 2 profiles listed. One for shooting attacks and one for attacks in the assault phase. So the shooting attack, it's a range of 24 inches, strength 5, AP 3, assault 3, twin linked. So that's not too bad. It's an alright strength and it's going to wipe out a few space marines per turn. The melee version of the Talon is a strength of the user, which is going to be 8 in this case, AP 2, shred, deflagrate. So there you go. It's up to you which weapon you want to use there. Now then, for Horus Ascended though, for the extra 400 points, as well as the bonus strength, toughness and wounds, you get a few extra juicy rules, such as feel no pain on a 4+, rage 3, a dark fate, the power of chaos eternal and the spreading corruption. So these last 3 are 3 extra special rules. So a dark fate, first time in any battle that Horus Ascended loses his last wound or is otherwise removed from play as a casualty, the model is instead placed into reserves with a single wound remaining. Any unit Horus Ascended was part of remains in play, even a retinue or other unit that would normally not allow the removal of a model from the unit. After having been placed in reserves due to this special rule, Horus Ascended may choose to re-enter play with the controlling player making reserve rolls for the model as per normal rules. If the Slay the Warlord objective or any other objective that requires the enemy Warlord be removed as a casualty to score victory points is in effect, then it is still triggered when Horus Ascended is moved into reserves due to this special rule, and may be triggered a second time if Horus Ascended returns to play and is removed as a casualty again. That's pretty good. So he's on his last wound, put him in reserves. The power of Chaos Eternal. Once per battle, at the start of any assault phase, whether Horus Ascended's controlling player is the active or reactive player, Horus Ascended's controlling player may choose to activate the power of Chaos Eternal. Once activated, Horus Ascended increases his strength and toughness characteristics to 10 for the duration of the assault phase and ignores all the effects of the unwieldy special rule on attacks made with World Breaker. Once the assault phase has ended, all combats being fought have been resolved and the effects of the power of Chaos Eternal have ended, Horus Ascended automatically suffers Perils of the Warp, but any wounds caused must be allocated to friendly models in the same unit as Horus Ascended, if any such models exist, before they are allocated to Horus Ascended. That's pretty cool. So he gets like a massive boost in rage and strength and toughness, and gets to just use that World Breaker without it being unwieldy. He gets Perils of the Warp, but he can just allocate them to, his minions nearby. And finally, the last rule, the spreading corruption. All models in a unit made up entirely of models with the infantry, cavalry or dreadnought unit types in the same detachment as Horus Ascended may be given the corrupted unit subtype at a cost of 25 points per unit. If this upgrade is selected for a unit, then all models in that unit must gain the corrupted subtype. Models that are attached to units such as apothecaries or tech marines must be upgraded separately. For apothecary detachments, tech marine covenants and other units which are bought as a single force organisation slot and then separated, divided or attached to other units, including units bought using the retinue special rule or any variant of that rule which allows a unit to be counted as part of the same force organisation slot as a leader model. The upgrade is bought once for the entire set of models before they are separated and must be applied to all models chosen as part of that force organisation slot. If you wanted to know what the corrupted unit subtype includes for these 25 points, well, you'll find that in the Word Bearer's Armoury, and they gain the Fear 1 special rule. Any hits inflicted on a model with corrupted unit subtype with the Force or Psychic Focus special rules gain the Instant Death special rule. So unfortunately, if you're corrupted, you're going to get instant death. Any unit composed entirely of models with the corrupted unit subtype is immune to the effects of the Fear special rule, automatically passes regroup tests and cannot choose to fail a morale check due to the Our Weapons Are Useless special rule. When a unit is comprised entirely of models with the corrupted unit subtype fails a morale check, it does not fall back as per the standard rules, but instead suffers D3 automatic wounds with no saves or damage mitigation rolls of any kind allowed. No model that does not also have the corrupted unit subtype or the demon unit type may join a unit that includes one or more models with the corrupted unit subtype. So there you go. That's a little bit about the spreading corruption and how you can upgrade some of your units to have that corrupted special rule. So there you go. Pretty powerful, especially with that bump up to strength 10 and toughness 10. Yes, his initiative isn't the best, but certainly his strength bumping up to 10 and his toughness bumping up to 10 and a decent number of wounds with his 2+ and his 3+ invulnerable. He's definitely a very, very strong character, very strong Primarch, but he comes at that cost. He comes at a points cost of 1,000 points for the Lord of War, which is very expensive indeed. And he's going to have to certainly put the work in to get his points back in value. But what do you guys think of Horus Ascended? Both the miniature and the rules. Please do put your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. It'd be great to hear from you. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for watching. Death to the False Emperor.